Modeling with modifiers will only take you so far. Ultimately, you want more control over your models in a way that resembles sculpting. For that, you need polymodeling. It's a very effective technique that, when mastered, will let you build any model you can imagine. This method of modeling starts with a simple primitive object, usually a box. In fact, this technique is often called box modeling. At the time of its creation, the only editing capabilities you have over a box are in its parametric values. You need more tools to let you shape the surface. Right-click on the box and convert it to an editable poly. An editable mesh would work too, but editable polys have more modeling tools to offer. These tools display in the Modify panel and Modeling ribbon. Note that most tools can be found in both locations, though the ribbon contains additional features. This movie concentrates on using the tools in the Modify panel. Now you can access the underlying geometry, or sub-objects that make up this object. When modeling, press F4 to turn on Edge to Faces mode and to see the sub-objects better. You can access each sub-object mode using these buttons, or by expanding the editable poly entry in the modifier stack. We will focus on the vertex, edge, and polygon modes. At the vertex sub-object level, you can select any point on the object, in this case any corner of the box, and move it around in space to reshape the object. The edge sub-object level lets you select any straight segment connecting two vertices. At the polygon sub-object level, you can select and manipulate a polygon, which is defined by a boundary of edges. A sub-object turns red when you select it. In the case of selected polygons, you can press F2 to toggle the shading on and off. The edge between two vertices is always perfectly straight. To curve or bend a surface, you must add more detail by subdividing the polygons. You can subdivide your object in a number of ways. Let's start at the polygon sub-object level. In the Edit Polygons rollout, you can turn on Extrude mode. With the simple click and drag, Extrude lets you push the selected polygon in a direction perpendicular to its current orientation. This is not moving the polygon so much as adding an extra level of geometry to the object. Notice the edges where the polygon was a moment ago. Once you have extruded it, you can move, rotate, or scale the extruded polygon any way you like. The bevel mode is similar to the extrude mode, but it also lets you scale. This means that in bevel mode, you drag a selected polygon to extrude it, but then you release the mouse button and move the mouse further to scale the polygon without having to access the scale function. This is quite a handy tool. Also note that you can press Escape to cancel while you're beveling or extruding. Extrusions and bevels can also be negative to punch holes into the geometry. This is very useful if you also use Inset. The Inset command is essentially a bevel without an extrusion. It's great for creating quads while retaining the object's shape. And you can extrude or bevel that. You can Shift-drag to duplicate selected polygons. Select Clone to Element to keep them as part of the same object, then click OK. When you select two polygons that face each other, you can click Bridge to create polygons that span the gap between them. Working at the polygon sub-object level is not the only way you can add detail. At the edge sub-object level, you can select one edge and then add to the selection in a variety of ways. For example, Ring selects all edges parallel to the selected one, and Loop selects all connected edges by their endpoints. The loop is lost when it encounters a 5-edge vertex, as you see here. You can also click one edge, then Shift-click a second edge to select a loop or ring in that direction. With this ring of edges still selected, take a look at the Connect and Connect Settings commands. Click the Connect button to connect all selected edges with an additional edge. Vertices are added where the edges cross. Better yet, press Ctrl-Z to undo this and click the Connect Settings button. In the caddy that appears, use the parameters to specify the number of segments. You can also pinch them and slide them to get the new edges where you need them. Once you're done, you can click the check mark to accept the changes and close the caddy. Many of the commands have extra settings like these. In fact, this is one of the advantages that editable polys have over editable meshes. Another useful tool is Camphor. And the Camphor settings also let you specify an additional level of detail. At the vertex sub-object level, Camphor also works on vertices. When moving vertices, you can constrain them to edges to force them to slide along any edge to which they are connected, like a bead on a string. Just remember to turn off the option as soon as you've finished with it, or it may cause problems later. You can combine vertices together by welding them in a number of ways. You can select 2 or more vertices and weld them using the weld settings, and then specify a threshold value. Another more common way is to use the target weld mode, where you force a vertex to weld on another by clicking one and then the other. In the Edit Geometry rollout, you can turn on the Cut tool to add edges and vertices exactly where you need them. Notice that the mouse icon changes when you hover the mouse over polygons, edges, and vertices. To create a cut, simply click from one to another. You can press Escape at any time to cancel. Right-click once to finish the cut. Notice how cutting adds vertices where they're needed, at the intersection of edges. With Cut, it's easy to create badly connected vertices and edges, so take your time. When you're done, right-click twice or click Cut again to exit the mode. As you model and subdivide, you want to control the smoothness of the surface. Here are some guidelines to keep in mind. When you subdivide polygons, it's important to create polygons with 4 sides, called quads, whenever possible. Create smoothly flowing edge loops in an even grid pattern. These guidelines are especially important when creating curved surfaces in areas that bend during animation. Otherwise, you can end up with unpredictable smoothing and smoothing artifacts such as bumps and holes. Creating an even mesh is also important for unwrapping, rigging, animating, and so on. Part 2 describes how to build a jerrycan using the techniques shown in this movie.